Come one, come all, and welcome to Tea Time with T-Cross.
Paul Miller, they finally got you son of a bitch. Ah, God, what a glorious day it's been today. Paul Miller, the infamous internet sensation, the Gypsy Crusader, was finally raided and arrested by the FBI. Yesterday, I think it was, at this point, by the time I'm recording this. I don't even remember, just so many thoughts are rolling. That whole Paul Miller situation, so let me give a little background information for those of you that don't know who Paul Miller is, who the Gypsy Crusader is. I first met him at, wow, that's weird. I didn't even do that on purpose. The Institute, the sweatshirt I'm wearing, the gym that I train at here in Keensburg. When I first met him, the gym was over in Morganville. He was a Muay Thai fighter who he was always super nice to me. Even when he started going off the deep end and becoming like this so he's a neo-Nazi. He's a white supremacist. But he wasn't always as bad as he is now. There was always remnants of it. But even back in the day, this was when I first met him, probably, I want to say 6 years ago, maybe 5, something like that, 5-6 years ago. And, he was just a super chill guy who liked to smoke weed and train Muay Thai. And he was really good at it. I don't even know how many belts he won at WKs and all that other type of shit. But, so he, even back in the day, used to be like afraid of fighting black people. He would often try to avoid fighting a black person. And I don't even remember what happened, but he used to be like a Bernie bro. He was like, he was all big on Bernie Sanders. And then as far as I remember, I can't seem to find anybody else that remembers this, but I remember him getting in some sort of car accident or something, which caused him to not be able to train anymore for a while. And then that's when he started going fucking crazy and becoming, this big Donald Trump guy and MAGA and this and that. And he likes to parade around like he became this big white supremacist type guy after Black Lives Matter threatened his parents or something like that. But he was like this long before the Black Lives Matter movement of last summer happened. There's comments that I've saw on Facebook that I still have screenshots of to this day of another one of our teammates, like, screenshotted all of his other comments and was like, you've said this, you've said this, you've said this. This was like 3 years ago at this point. And he's just turned into a bad guy. And as far as I remember, it was after a car accident. So he's definitely got some sort of brain issue. And I almost feel bad for the guy that he went down this path. And it's so sad. It's really sad. But this is the path he chose. And what's even sadder about it is that he has gotten so famous because of this shit. Like, he dresses up in costumes and goes on like video chat websites and calls black people the N-word. I saw some video that some little kid was crying on this website, and the kid told Paul that he came out to his parents and his parents hate him or something like that. And then he went and called him the F word. Like, dude, come on, man. He's just a really, really bad guy. And he didn't even get arrested for, I guess this is good. Like, he didn't go out and actually assault anybody or hurt anybody. He got arrested for, like, illegally owning a firearm because he is a convicted felon. But man, I'm glad he's off the streets. I am worried, though, that his followers, because he's got something like 50,000 followers on this app called Telegram, because he kept making a bunch of new Instagram pages where he would just idolize Hitler. Like, he would post Hitler all the time and like all this rude shit about black people and the George Floyd situation. Just a fucking real piece of shit scumbag. And I mean, I watched that guy quit on the stool in fights that he was winning, because he just couldn't do it anymore. I watched him quit on the stool. I watched him get kicked out of every gym he's ever been a part of. I've watched him get kicked out of gyms, be allowed back into the same gyms, and then end up getting kicked out again. And then he's always a victim. It's always everybody else's fault, that they can't handle him, and not that he's just a scumbag. And he's done such a good job of parading himself as the victim, like, oh, if your family got attacked by Black Lives Matter, you'd be this way too. And that's just completely not how he became the way he is. He was like this long before Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter definitely made it worse, but he was like this long before that happened. So he's completely full of shit. I'm glad that he's off the streets, so that he can't hurt anybody, because that was inevitable. That was on its way. And again, it's a real shame what happened to that guy, because like I said, he was a really good fighter. I mean, I watched him. I mean, as nice as he was to me in the time that we spent together in the gym, he was a dickhead in the gym. Like, he would spar with new guys that came into the gym, and he'd have people videotape it, and he'd kick the shit out of them and then post it on the internet, like, oh, look how good I am. And he's sparring with somebody on their first day. But I watched him fight guys that fight at high levels of the professional level, and beat them, or at least was beating them before he gave up. But he was a talented fighter, and I'm glad that he's off the streets, because that's part of what scared me. Is like, he didn't give a fuck going. Like, he would go to rallies and yell the N-word at people. Because what are they gonna do? He's a fucking trained killer. So, again, I'm glad he's off the street. Paul Miller, go fuck yourself. So, as you all know, I got a new camera, and I've noticed lately, I don't normally watch the videos after I upload them to YouTube. For some reason this week I just decided to check, and they look like dog shit on YouTube. They look better than they used to, but they look like dog shit. So the camera that I just bought is a 4K camera, so higher than like 1080p HD television quality. And for whatever reason, maybe it's just on my screens, but when I click on any of my YouTube videos, it automatically goes to 360p, which is like really shit quality. So I can, change the video quality to HD, 1080p, but I can't seem to figure out how to get my 4K quality video that when I put it into iMovie and watch the video on my laptop while I'm editing it, looks fucking fantastic. Get it onto YouTube. It automatically puts it to 360p, unless I change it to HD, in which case it still looks okay, looks better than it used to on the old camera, but I can't seem to figure out how to get 4K videos onto YouTube. If anybody has any fucking idea, I literally just found this out an hour ago, so I'm sure I can find a video on it, but if anybody else listens to this or watches this and knows a way, please let me know, or send me a good video of a step-by-step on how to do it. So, yeah. I had a roller coaster of a week. There was some highs, there were some lows. I laughed, I cried, I took a lot of poops. Really weird week. So, I got into the Ranger game. Not that I got into it. I bought tickets. I went to the Ranger game, I should say, with my parents and my best friend Sal. And they lost. They played one of the worst hockey games I've ever seen them play. It was like an NHL team in the Bruins playing a Pee Wee team in the Rangers. They just played all around bad. The game before we went, they scored 6 goals. The game we went, they scored 1 goal in like the last 3 minutes of the game. The game after, they won again. So, of course, the game I go to, they play like shit. But it was still fun. It felt good to go to the Ranger games. So it was like a 24,000 seat stadium, something like that, maybe 20. And they allowed 2,000 people in. I hate to say it, I enjoyed it. The lines to the bathroom in between periods were non-existent. The lines to get beer in between periods were non-existent. There was not a single person in any of the rows behind me. I think I sat in row 19. I want to say there's something like, 30 rows in a section. Nobody sat directly behind me, so I could have stood up the whole game and not get yelled at and called a cocksucker. It was great. And it just felt good to do something that I haven't been allowed to do for the last year again. So that was cool. After the Ranger game, me, Sal, Karen, and Karen's daughter, we go to I Play America, and I am drunk. The Ranger game was on a Sunday. It was at noon, so I started drinking 11 in the morning when we got there, drinking Heinekens all throughout the game, get home, drink beers at home, get to I Play America, drink beers there. It was great. We're playing golf games, dodgeball games. Oh, the Top Golf area of I Play America. Super fucking fun. Have some dinner at I Play, whatever. The next morning, I wake up to go to work. So Monday during the day, I don't do Uber. I drive, still deliver bread for my one buddy, Anthony. Deliver frozen bread, super easy, super quick. Pays me in cash. It's cool. So I wake up in the morning and with a text from my dad that says, "Hey, before you leave for work, come talk to me." And my dad's mom is not doing great. She's having a tough time mentally. So I assumed that's where that was going. I'm like, fuck, something happened to Nanny. So he tells me, "Hey, I got a phone call from your bank this morning. There was some sort of fraudulent charge or whatever that they blocked your card. You have to call them or something to get it figured out." I'm like, what the fuck? So this has happened a bunch. In the last, I want to say 2 to 2.5 years, I've had 5 debit cards. Now, it's partially my fault that I buy stuff from shady websites. But the shady websites usually send me my shit that I buy, so it's not like they steal my information and don't give me the product I ordered. So it's partially my fault. But at the end of the day, I think they should be better at figuring out what's me and what's not me. Like, there was one time, like 2 years ago, I go to Disney World, and this used to happen all the time. This has been happening at my bank for years, where I go to Disney World, and because I live in New Jersey, I try to buy like a souvenir with my card, and they'd say, "Nope, this isn't you," and I would have to call them and say, "Hey, yeah, I'm in Disney World again. Like, I go 5 times a year. Why does this happen every time I go?" So I call the first guy I speak to. He tells me that there was a charge at I Play America, which to me, I'm like, that's really the fraudulent charge? Like, I Play America in Freehold, 40 minutes from my house. Is that really that odd of a charge? So I say to the guy, "Hey, yeah, that was me. Can you unblock my card, please?" And he goes, "Let me transfer you to the fraud department." Of course. Why would he be able to fucking help me? The first person I speak to at a customer service department, why would they know what the fuck to do? So I speak to the second person, and she goes, "Yeah, I don't know why he told you that. What happened was a store that you shopped at got their computer system hacked. So anybody who shopped at that store, their cards have been rejected or blocked or whatever." And I was like, "What? Like, when did this happen?" So apparently 3 weeks ago, some store that I shopped at got hacked. And I was like, "Cool, it was 3 weeks ago. Nothing has happened on my card. Can you just please reactivate my card?" And she's like, "Nope." I go, "Lady, I have bills due today. If I don't have a card, I can't pay those bills. And if I don't pay the bills on time, it fucks with my credit score. Can you just reactivate my card so I can pay my bills?" And she's like, "Nope, can't do it." I'm like, wait, so you're telling me this store got hacked 3 weeks ago and you're just telling me about this now? And she goes, no, MasterCard just found out about it. So now they're deciding. I'm like, cool, it's been 3 weeks, nothing's happened. Just reactivate my fucking card. Won't do it. So I'm like, what store was it? And they go, we can't tell you that. I'm like, so let me get this straight. A store, an unnamed store, was hacked that I shopped at, which resulted in you guys shutting down and deactivating my card. And now I have no access to my money. And the woman goes, you can go to the bank and deposit or take money out. Now, I didn't know you could do this. I've never done this before. I'm like, how am I going to deposit money from the bank without a debit card? I guess apparently you can go to the counter and show your ID or whatever. They can give you money, whatever. I'm like, yeah, my bills are paid online, as I'm sure yours are. So taking money out of the bank doesn't help my cause here. So she's like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we can send you a new card or not, but the card that you have now will never be reactivated. I go, so here's another problem I'm having here. I'm at work, because I called them while I was in the truck driving to the bakery. Said, so I'm at work. I don't have any cash. I only have a debit card, which I now have no access to. So for the next 8 hours while I'm at work, I can't eat and I can't go grab a drink because you guys decided that I don't have access to my money. And she's like, yeah, that's right. I'm like, so you can just shut my bank account off whenever you want? She goes, that's right. We have the ability to shut your bank account down or shut your debit card off whenever we choose. I'm like, that is insane. She's like, yeah, whatever. Do you want a new card? I'm like, no, but I guess it's my only option. So got the card today. 3 days later, haven't had any access to my bank account. So now I have to go into Netflix. I have to go into Hulu. I have to go into Disney Plus. I have to go into ESPN Plus. I have to go into UFC Fight Pass. What am I missing here? I have to go into the Marvel store or the Marvel app that I subscribe to. Did I say DC Universe? The DC app that I subscribe to, SoundCloud. Yes, I have to go into all these things and change Netflix. I might have said that. I don't even remember what I said. I have so many subscription fucking services at this point. I have no idea. But now I have to figure out and not forget one and go fucking change my bank account my bank card on all these fucking things because somebody hacked a store that I wasn't allowed to know what it is and they fucking shut down my access to my bank account. Unfucking believable. I was so irate about it. And partially because I've had to do this so many times. Over the last number of years, I've had so many fucking debit cards. They just... Can you just... No, I don't want a new card. Just reactivate this one. So, I got a top-notch Uber story. At the end of this, I was worried I was going to lose my job. Let's just put it that way. So, it's so fucking stupid. So, I forget exactly where I was. So this guy ordered food. It was like a 27-minute drive. It was nowhere near where he was. It was like a 27-minute ride, and the only directions he gave me were wait in the car. So as I'm getting closer and closer to this place, I am delivering to the UPS distribution center in Jamesburg. Now, if you know what a distribution center looks like, these buildings are fucking enormous. So, I think I have it screenshot. I'll put it in the video, the conversation that we had. But so I get there, and I'm like, let me see how long I can drive around without this guy reaching out to me. Because his directions were wait in the car, which is no help when delivering to a distributor. There's probably, I'm going to guess, 47 doors that you could possibly go in or out of this building from. So then he sends me a message. I don't even know how long I was driving around for. It wasn't too long. I'd say like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. I was just driving in a circle. He goes, I'm right at the door waiting. So I said, okay, I'm at the customer center. I don't know which door you're at. This is an enormous building. He goes, I'm at door. I don't know what that means. Well, I mean, I know what it means, but again, I'm at a distribute. There's a lot of doors. So it turns out I was at the right door somehow. He was at the customer center or whatever. So he opens the door and he waves me down. So I pull in the parking spot right in front of the door that he's standing in front of. And again, he told me to wait in the car. Now, maybe I'm a bit of an asshole here, but if you tell me to wait in the car, I'm not getting out of my car. So he's waiting and mind you, this parking spot to the door that he's standing behind, no lie, 8 feet. Wasn't far. Wasn't like he had to walk down a whole bunch of stairs. Then I'd be a little bit of an asshole. But you tell me to wait in the car, wait in the car. I pulled right in front of the door that you're waiting at. So then he like goes back inside as I pull in the door. Like he steps outside to wave me down. As I pull in the parking spot, he goes back inside the door. So I just like, lift the bag up. Like, is this for you? And he gives me like the thumbs up. And I was like, and I kind of just shook the bag again. And he like puts his hands up like this, like he's confused. And then I put it out the window. And I like shook it again, like, are you coming to get this? So he comes out the door, he walks 8 feet, and he grabs the bag, and he looks at me and goes, thanks for nothing, asshole. And I said, hey, Dick, you told me to wait in the car. I was following your directions. Didn't look at me, and I said, you're a fucking pussy, get back here. And then he just walked in the building. And then I sent him a message before I clicked that I delivered it, and I called him a cocksucker. And as I was leaving, I was like, oh boy, I should probably keep my emotions in check. That wasn't great, but that guy was a fucking dickhead. I mean, first of all, I drove 27 minutes. It was like Chipotle. Or it was one, or maybe it was Jersey Mike's. I think it was Jersey Mike's. It was one sandwich from a Jersey Mike's delivered 27 minutes. I guarantee there was a Jersey Mike's closer to him. And he told me to wait in the car. I waited in my car, made him walk 8 feet, and he called me an asshole. I'm sorry. I'm not letting you get away with that. I called you a cocksucker because you were acting like a cocksucker. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go on my way. Not even 10 minutes later, I got a message from Uber. I don't remember if I screenshotted the message. I did. Actually, I think I could find the full message because I only screenshotted like the first part of it. But of course, the guy complained, and I don't necessarily blame him, but he was being a dick, so fuck him. So the message said, hi Thomas, a restaurant customer provided feedback that an argument on a recent order with you made them feel uncomfortable. We wanted to share this feedback with you and emphasize the importance of remaining respectful while using the Uber app in accordance with our community guidelines. Please note that multiple reports of this nature may result in losing access to the Uber apps. Thank you for your understanding. So, to me, that makes it worth it. I did not lose my job. It was just I just got a warning. Hey, if this keeps happening, you're gonna be out of here, buddy. Fucking worth it, because when I sent that message, called him a cocksucker, it made my heart feel so good. So then I sent a complaint back, and I said, my rider was rude. Was that like the option of your complaint? And I said, customer asked me to wait in the car. So when I arrived, I waited in my car. Customer walked about 8 feet from the building to get to my car, and he proceeded to curse me off because I didn't get out of my car. And then they're like, we're sorry to hear about that. This is not the experience we want. We expect everyone to follow community guidelines. I've made a note regarding this customer. Blah, 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 all that kind of shit. But, and his name was Vernon. So Vernon, if you got back to this, suck my dick. And I found your Facebook page, by the way, buddy. It's so easy to find people these days, especially when you just know their first name and you know where they work. Because most people put where they work on their Facebook page. So I typed in Vernon Uber, or Vernon UPS, bada bing, bada boom. That easy. No mutual friends. I found you at the drop of a hat. Watch your ass, buddy. I'm coming for you. Not really. So here's another thing. I've complained about people that order Uber to stores many a times. I get it. You're getting food brought to your workspace so that you can have lunch at work. But you gotta help me out here. You can't tell me the address of the store if the store is on a major highway or in a giant, like, shopping mall. Excuse me. So I get a request the other day to deliver to a store in the airport plaza. No, is that the airport plaza? I don't know, the bowling alley on 36 with the KFC. So I don't know the exact number. I'm going to guess there's 25 stores in that complex. And she gave me the address, which is no help. It ended up being a store that I'd never heard of, so I probably would have struggled to find it anyway. But, so when I noticed the address was on the highway, I send her a message. Hey, is this going to a store? Doesn't read it. No response. 5 minutes later, what store is this going to? No response. Send 3 question marks. No response. I called her 3 times. No response. When I find the store, because I'm driving slowly through the parking lot to find the right numbers, when I find the store, this asshole was standing outside the store with her phone in her hand. So she was getting the messages and the phone calls and purposely ignored me. You're an asshole, lady. Again, if I tell you 7176 Highway 35, that's going to mean nothing to you. If I tell you Best Buy in the Homedale Commons, you know where I'm going. I mean, is it really that difficult? Mr. Potato Head. Or should I say, formerly known Mr. Potato Head. And Dr. Seuss. I mean, I hate everything. I hate it here. I want to leave this country. I can't take it anymore. This is insane. All this did, this Potato Head and Dr. Seuss thing, all this did was remind me of the whole Black Lives Matter movement back then. When the Black Lives Matter movement was asking, hey, can we maybe fix the problems in the police system and stop being killed by you guys? No. Best we can do is no more Aunt Jemima because it's racist. It's the same type of thing. Like, transgender people like, hey, can you stop discriminating against us? They're like, nope. Best we can do is take the Mr. off of Potato Head. It's like, who's asking for that? Seriously, I want to know one fucking person who looked at a Mr. Potato Head and said, that's the problem with this country. That's where we got to fix. And then started bitching about it to Hasbro Toys or whatever fucking toy company makes Mr. Potato Head. I really want to see the people that are actively complaining about Mr. Potato Head. I want to know. Because of all the terrible things that are happening in this country, the fact that is not only something that happened, but the fact that became a major thing in the news. Is that if they want to do that, I don't fucking care. I don't own a Mr. Potato Head. I never did. Maybe I did when I was a kid. I don't know. I really don't care all that much. But here I am talking about it, so I guess I'm part of the problem. But it became like a major news story. Like it was reported everywhere. So again, media has so much control over us and what we see and what we get angry about. If the media never reported that and they just like put potato heads instead of Mr. Potato Head on the shelves at Target, we'd walk past and go, huh, I thought that was Mr. Potato Head. And then you just put it back on the shelf and keep walking. But when the media says like, hey, you should be outraged by this, or look how fucking crazy the left is, they started changing potato heads. And then we all eat it up. All of us eat it up. And here I am talking about it. And the Dr. Seuss thing is kind of a little different. That I guess they were kind of reviewing old books and like nobody complained about it. They just looked at it and said, we don't kind of. But again, why do you have to announce that you're doing it? Just take it off the shelves. Just discontinue. Stop printing more copies. Do it without making a big deal about it. Just take it off. If that's a decision that you've made as a company, just do it. You don't need to announce every little moving piece to your company that happened. Just do it. I mean, maybe it was like a media campaign, kind of like how IHOP made themselves in International House of Burgers at some point just to get some media coverage. That Dr. Seuss was like, hey, we're kind of going out of business here. Let's do something drastic and try and get some coverage. And if that was their goal, it worked. But just keep it moving. Just do what you got to do and just stop announcing everything. Just shut the fuck up. But that brings me to something that I'm going to start doing. Start ignoring. I mean, look. So I keep talking about a guest. We had to push it back another couple of weeks. It's going to come eventually. For the most part in this country, public and civil discourse is dead. It does not exist anymore. Among strangers, among friends, among family, it doesn't exist. And I mention that because my guest is somebody that I vehemently disagree with on everything. But I love the guy to death. I think he's a great guy. I respect him. And we're going to have a civil conversation. And it's going to be excellent. And I can't wait for it. But on the internet, we need to stop acknowledging the people that we disagree with. Because all it does is piss you off and ruin your day. And you're not changing their mind. And here's what I'm referring to. The Gina Carano situation, it's not going away. People are still upset about it. They're going to be forever. And people have canceled their Disney Plus subscription over it. People claim, I love Mandalorian, but I won't watch it. Cool. But every Disney post has, like, they're posting about WandaVision. Comments about Gina Carano are all the top comments. They got hundreds of replies. Do you think those people are making those comments because they really feel that, or because they want to get some attention because they know I make this comment, I'm bored. I'm going to have an argument today. I think it's a little bit of both. I'm sure they do feel that in some way, but if they make these comments and they don't get a single reply, no likes, no comments, no nothing, I think those comments are going to weed themselves out. These people are looking for attention. They're looking for an argument. They're looking to start a fight. And when you acknowledge them and you join in on the fight, you're giving them what they want. So just shut the fuck up. Leave them alone. Let them weed themselves out. Those types of comments will dwindle away as long as they stop getting acknowledgement. And they're not just getting acknowledgement. They're getting a lot of it. Like, you can scroll through the comments, like they're trying to hype up their new movie that they got coming out on Friday, Raya, however you pronounce it. And people are like, oh, I can't wait for this movie. I'm so happy. My daughter's going to love this. Nothing. Bring Gina Carano back. 747 replies. Just leave him be. Shut the fuck up. So Texas, the governor, decided to end all COVID protocols. I don't remember if he picked an exact date, but like now. No more masks. Everything can operate at 100% capacity. And I mean, I don't even know what the COVID numbers are anymore at this point. I have no clue, but I am so over the mask thing. I'm over the last year. We're closing in on 1 year since our lives got changed forever. We're closing in on the anniversary of 2 weeks to flatten the curve. So I'm all for it. I don't care. I want everything back to normal, and I'm not afraid to say it. I don't care enough or I'm going to go like fight to get my rights back. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't care. Like, let people decide what they want to do. If you don't want to be around people, don't. If you do. I don't care anymore. But on the other hand, my friend Benny did bring up a good point. Like, we've gone a year. The vaccines are rolling out. We've done it a year. Why do that now as opposed to wait 2 months for a larger percentage of people to be vaccinated to make more people safe? Look, let me break it to you. Nobody in Texas is taking that fucking thing. Very low percentage of Texans are going to take that vaccine. I guarantee it. But I think Texas doing it. Now, I don't know what states have been doing it and not. I thought Texas had been doing that for quite a while at this point. Some parts of Florida, like I don't think Miami ever shut down anything ever at all. Like Florida's been like the wild, wild west. I know people that live there and they're all on their Instagram stories not wearing masks out in public. So I don't know what states were doing it, but Texas made a big announcement. The governor made an announcement, so I'm sure more states are going to follow suit. And I think we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Even in the blue states like New York, who's been one of the worst places as far as COVID goes, started letting fans back in. Like I mentioned, I went to the Ranger game on Sunday. So the light is at the end of the tunnel. I'm trying to get the vaccine as soon as possible. I was told by the government, I filled out this thing to find out if I was eligible. I was told I was eligible, tried to get a vaccine appointment, and now I'm told I'm not. So I was told I'm eligible because I do food delivery service, which is kind of weird because I don't really come in contact with people. Just, I don't know. So as soon as I'm available to get it, I want to get it. But the light's at the end of the tunnel. I can't wait to just be told you don't have to wear a mask anymore. I want to move to Texas. I want to move out of the United States. I'm fucking over it. I don't remember if I talked about it last week, but Karen mentioned to me a few weeks ago that she got an opportunity offered to her to do a travel nursing position in Guam. And what travel nursing is like you travel to a different place in I think it only works in like United States territories. I think Guam might be I have no idea. I think it is. I'm not positive. Travel different places. You go there for 3 months, and you get paid a much higher rate than you do here, and they put you up in a living spot. So she's like, "Would you be cool moving to Guam?" And at first I was like, "No, I can't work in Guam." But then as things get crazier here, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Let's go to Guam permanently. Let's get the fuck out of here. So I'm trying to like nudge her towards going to Guam. But I think because of her daughter, I don't think she's going to do it. But I think it'd be cool. Guam, from what I see online, seems like a beautiful place. I'm sure it has its shitty places like any place does. But I hope that happens. But again, another light at the end of the tunnel thing. Baseball's back. I love baseball. Super fucking excited for baseball to be back. So we're almost there, people. I'm going to say, what's today? March. I mean, it's after midnight at this point. So it's March 4th. It's after midnight, March 3rd into March 4th, however you look at the time. But I'm excited. I'm going to say by July. So March, April, May. I'm going to say June. Beginning of June, we're going to be almost rocking and rolling. So I think we're going to have a good summer this year. We gave up a summer. We gave up a whole year of our lives to no avail. Didn't really work, clearly. But, c'est la vie. Life goes on. So I'm thinking we're going to have a good summer. If anything good happened from COVID, I would say I'm excited to do stuff. Just to put it simply, I usually work my ass off in the summers. But this year, I think I'm going to take more time off to do stuff, especially when it's nice out. I'm going to, take little weekend trips and go different places and do different things. And I'm going to make this summer a fun one. And if I have to do it by myself, so be it. I like myself. But anyway, let's get into the Rangers. New York Rangers. So, last year, we didn't have a great season. I think we were having an okay season, and then COVID hit, and we somehow got put in the playoffs. I don't know how that happened. I don't remember what the standings were. Playoffs restarted during COVID. We played 3 games, got swept in the opening season, or the opening round. So, I don't know exactly how the NHL draft works entirely, but there's like a lottery where I guess the worst team in the league gets a bunch of their names put into a thing, and I don't know. The Rangers were involved in the lottery. I don't know if the whole league is in it. I would imagine not. But the Rangers won the lottery. So they got the first overall draft pick in the 2020 draft. And everybody had their eyes set on this kid, Alexis Lafreniere. He turned 19 in October, so he's a young kid, big kid, physical. Judging by his, I don't even know if you would call it amateur, juniors, or his whatever league he was in before he got drafted, was looking like a mixture of Crosby and Ovechkin. I'm going to be talking about hockey for, I'm going to say 10 minutes here, so if you don't like hockey and you don't want to listen to this, feel free to fast forward, but I like hockey. I know other people like hockey, so I'm going to talk about hockey. It's my favorite sport other than mixed martial arts. So, he was looking like a mixture of Crosby and Ovechkin. Got the sniper power, big, physical guy, stick handling like Crosby, makes good passes, like good ice vision. I was like, fucking A, we got this guy. We're going to put him on a line with Mika. We're going to put him on a line with Panarin. We could throw him in with Capo Caco, Chris Kreider. Like, we're going to have a fucking great year with this kid. First, I think 6 games of the season, I bet money that he was going to score a goal. He didn't score. The first game I stopped putting money on him, he scores a fucking goal. But they've played 20 games this season. 20. He has 5 points. And I believe it's 2 goals and 3 assists. It doesn't even matter at this point. So I decided, how big of a bust is he thus far? I'm not ready to, sign him off completely, but he is not living up to expectations at this point. And I mean, good thing there's not a full stadium at the Garden. Ranger fans are passionate. I'd say passionate, ruthless, however you want to describe it. But I'll tell you, if he played this full season in a full stadium of Ranger fans, he would have less than 5 points. So you could say, COVID is part of the reason he's like nervous or whatnot, but I think playing in empty stadiums would have calmed his nerves to get him to play better. And I would think after he scored his first goal, like, all right, now he got it out of the way. Now he's going to play better. Not true thus far. So I decided to look through the past 10 first overall NHL picks and what they did in their first season. Now, mind you, this season won't be a full season, so I did put percentages involved in the games played thus far. So 2011 first overall pick was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins by the Oilers. He scored 52 points. Now, for those of you that don't watch hockey and don't really know much about hockey, you score a goal or you get an assist, that's a point. So he scored 52 points in 62 games. A full NHL season is 82 games. So, I mean, I didn't look into why some of these people didn't play full seasons. Could be injury. I don't know. So Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for the Oilers scored 52 points in 62 games. That's 1 point every .83 games. 2012 first overall draft pick, Nail Yakupov, also by the Oilers, scored 31 points in 48 games. That's 1 point every .64 games. Nathan MacKinnon in 2013, who might be my favorite player in the NHL at this point. He is fucking so good. I try to watch as much hockey as possible. I have like one player on every team that I like, on most teams that I really focus on, that when I watch the game, that's the guy I'm watching for. Nathan MacKinnon got me so into the Avalanche, and I mean, Austin Matthews is on this list. He's one guy for the Maple Leafs as well. Connor McDavid, he's also on this list, also for the Oilers. Who else? Braden Point for the Lightning. Like, there's so many of them. Nathan MacKinnon, first overall draft pick, 2013 for the Avalanche, scored 63 points, and he played every game that season, all 82. So that's 1 point every .76 games. 2014, Aaron Ekblad for the Florida Panthers scored 39 points in 81 games. That's 1 point every .48 games. But he's a defenseman. Defensemen don't generally score as many points. So the fact that he is less than .5 is good, I guess. I don't want to say good, but like, it's understandable. And then Connor McDavid. So he scored 48 points in 45 games, which is 1 point every .06 games. He averaged more than 1 point a game as a rookie. And I believe he was also 18 years old when he got drafted. And then his second season, he scored, I didn't write this one down, I just wrote down the number, but I think it was 100 points. And he led the league in points. He scored more points than Ovechkin. He scored more points than Crosby. He's in his second season, he scored a point every 1.22 games. Yeah. So, and then 2016, Austin Matthews for the Maple Leafs scored 69 points in 82 games. That's .84, 1 point every .84 games. And then we got Nico Hischier for the Devils in 2017, scored 52 points in 82 games, .63. 1 point every .63 games. 2018, Rasmus Dahlin for the Sabres scored 44 points in 82 games. Also a defenseman. So that's 1 goal every .53 games. That's like every other game he was scoring a point. 2019, Jack Hughes for the Devils was 21 points in 61 games, which is 1 point every .34 games, which is like 1 every third game, which is, I was surprised with, because Jack Hughes is a fucking stud. He's really good. So I don't know why that number was so low. I was shocked that as I was going through 2011 through 2019 looking at this, I was like, oh, Jack Hughes is going to be middle of the pack. Surprised that he was the lowest points per game percentage, especially with there being defensemen in there for their first season. But Jack Hughes this season has played, has scored 12 points in 18 games, which is .66. So he's already playing much, much better. And then we got Alexis Lafreniere, who has scored 5 points in 20 games, which is .25. 1 point every fourth game, which is by far the worst out of any of the last 10 first overall draft picks in the NHL. And, of course, it's for the team that I like. I've had such a rough sports life. Ranger fan, they won the Cup in '94 when I wasn't even a year old yet. I'm a Jet fan. They haven't won since 1969. And the Mets haven't won since 1986. They've been to the World Series a couple times since then, but they never win. It's a rough life, and I blame my father. But as far as success goes, the Rangers have been the most successful out of any of the franchises as far as like number of playoff appearances, playoff wins, and all that kind of shit. So they do make the playoffs just about every year, but they never make it all the way, and it makes my heart sad that we got the first overall draft pick, and he's shitting the bed. I'm not ready to write him off yet. I don't love the coach we have this year. I think the coach is playing a big part in why he's not playing well. So hopefully Quinn can get his head out of his ass, or Lafreniere can, and kind of just play well anyway. So that's all I got for hockey. I really like hockey. I'm glad I was able to talk about it. That was fucking cool. And I hope I didn't bore any of you guys. I'm sure I did. But let's get into the MMA talk. I'd like to end on the MMA talk or the Uber stories, one or the other. So, Khamzat Chimaev, the big up-and-coming star of 2020, had 3 fights. He came into the UFC, had 2 fights in a 6-day span, and the first one was a weight class above. So on a Saturday, he fought at 185, and then the following Friday, so he had to weigh in 5 days later, cut to 170. Stud. And then not too long after, fought back up at 185, won by knockout. Then he was supposed to fight Leon Edwards, back down at 170, and Leon Edwards caught COVID. So then they rescheduled the fight, which I thought was weird because they were really trying to build up Chimaev, that when Leon Edwards pulled out the first time, I'm surprised they rebooked it instead of just giving Chimaev an opponent. But then I don't remember exactly what happened. I know they booked it 3 times. So this is my memory of it. This may be wrong, so don't quote me on this. So the first time Leon Edwards caught COVID, had to pull out. They booked it I guess, I don't know the exact timeline, but let's just say 2 months later, in January. Then Chimaev caught COVID. So then they rebooked it again for March, in just a few weeks. And then Chimaev said, like, hey, I'm still having lingering effects from this COVID thing. Like, I can't do it. So they changed it again. But Leon Edwards said, hey, look, I haven't fought in almost 2 years. I stepped up and fought the guy, the unranked, like, I'm ranked 3. We got this unranked guy that nobody wants to fight. I stepped up. I'm taking the fight. I let it get rescheduled a couple times, but, like, I need to fight. I need to make money. Like, give me an opponent. So then Bilal Muhammad stepped in on short notice, relatively short notice, because he just fought, so he was in already good shape. So I don't want to hear that as an excuse afterwards. Like, oh, he took it on short notice, whatever. No, he doesn't get to use that excuse. He's in shape. He just fought, and he's got a couple weeks to prepare. So I don't want to hear it. So Chimaev came out to America to get, like, better medical treatment that was paid for by the UFC or Dana White. I don't know exactly how that money thing works, as far as a company and the president and who spends whose money and all that shit. But so they got him some medical treatment, and I guess he was doing better, so they sent him back home, but he was told to rest. He was told he's still got to rest, let the medicine do its job. But he was going in and training, and he was having trouble breathing because he couldn't train. So he sent out some Instagram posts, and he retired. He said, I think I'm done. I can't train. I can't do this anymore, and I'm done. Thank you for the fans, this and that, blah blah blah. And then they asked Dana White about it, and he said, yeah, he's not supposed to be training. He's emotional because he's a fucking killer. He's a savage. All he wants to do is fight and fuck people up, and he can't do that right now, so he got emotional. He's not done, trust me. And then the leader of Chechnya, I think, I can see the guy's face, Radulov, whatever the fuck his name is, came out and said, oh, I talked him out of it. Which also means, hey, if you retire, I'll fucking kill you. That's what that translates to. But, I like watching the guy fight. I think he's a fucking animal. I'd like to see how high his ceiling goes, so I wish him well. I hope he recovers, and I hope he gets back out in the cage soon. But also breaking news, I'm sure by the time you guys are listening it won't be breaking anymore, but this just happened 2 hours before I started recording. The UFC cut Junior Dos Santos and Alistair Overeem. Dos Santos didn't surprise me, but Overeem did. So if we look at Junior Dos Santos, he's got a bunch of records as far as the UFC heavyweights go. He's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. So, wow, this is crazy. So I'm looking at his fight record here. A lot of people talk about people that get huge winning streaks that don't get title shots. Like Max Holloway won something like 9 in a row before he got a title fight, and Tony Ferguson won all these fights in a row. Let's look at JDS here. So he opens his UFC career October 2008, 12 and a half years ago, against Fabricio Verdum. Holy shit. I knew that they fought. I've seen the highlight. I didn't know that was his first UFC fight. Wow. So Fabricio Verdum, knockout. Stefan Struve, who just retired. Classic Stefan Struve, knockout. Mirko Cro Cop, one of the scariest motherfuckers to ever fight in the heavyweight division, knockout. Gilbert Yvel, couldn't tell you who that guy is. Then Gabriel Gonzaga. That's how he started his UFC career. Take Gilbert Yvel out. Fabricio Verdum, Stefan Struve, Mirko Cro Cop, Gabriel Gonzaga. And so 5 knockouts in a row. Now, I don't know what the state of the heavyweight division at that time was, but 5 in a row. Holy shit. All knockouts. Was Gabriel Gonzaga... Sorry, I'm just sidetracking here. Did he ever win the heavyweight title? So he fought for it against Randy Couture, and he lost. So no, he did not. Okay. For some reason, I thought he won an interim title at some point. So that's 5. Then 6, Roy Nelson. Another classic name. Now 7, Shane Carwin. Now I think Shane Carwin, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he won an interim. Yeah, he won the interim against Frank Mir, and then Brock Lesnar beat his ass and choked him out. So that's 7 in a row that Junior Dos Santos won to start his UFC career. Again, fucking all classic names. I mean, maybe it was one of those things, as time goes on, it looks better because of how historic a career all these guys ended up having. It's kind of similar to Conor McGregor's record. Like his second fight in the UFC, fought Max Holloway. When Conor got his first title fight, and you look at his record, they're like, oh, who'd he beat? Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. Like, I think this might be one of those things that as time goes on, it makes the record look better because of the guys that he beat. And then he fought Cain Velasquez for the title, knocked him out in like 60 seconds. And then defended it against Frank Mir, another knockout. And then it went downhill from there. Then he had his fucking war with Cain Velasquez. If you even want to call it a war, I would say like a one-sided fucking ass whooping. So he started his career 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Won his first 9 fights in the UFC heavyweight division with 7 knockouts. Crazy. And then he ended his career, like most guys do, 4 knockout losses in a row. But to be honest, the guys that he was fighting, I think there would still be a place for him. But the problem with a guy like Junior Dos Santos, a former champion who holds name value, even though he's lost a bunch in a row, you can't put him against a top guy because the last 4 guys have all been top guys. You see what happens. You can't put him against some young, unknown up-and-comer because look what just happened. He's getting knocked out. Now you're using him as a stepping stone sort of thing. But if you put him against another fucking old guy, like Alistair Overeem, I don't know. But 4 knockout losses in a row, I think it's definitely time for him to hang him up. Because he's got those 4 in a row, and then he got knocked out by Stipe, got knocked out by Alistair. I didn't realize they had fought before. And then the TKO to Cain Velasquez, plus the other beating to Cain Velasquez. He's had some bad knockout losses, so I think it's time for him to hang it up. He is 37 years old. But again, so his last 4 knockouts, Francis Ngannou, Curtis Blades, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and Cyril Gane. All guys that are currently, I don't know how the rankings have changed after this weekend, but let's just say they're all top 5 heavyweights. Tough for him. And then Alistair Overeem, which is the one that surprised me. Because if we look at him the last couple of years, so going back to November of 2018, he beat Sergey Pavlovich, who I don't know much about, by knockout. He knocked out Alexei Oleinik in the first round. Then he fought Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and this is what's tough about this sport and looking at situations like this. That on his record is a knockout loss. It was a good stoppage, for sure. But if you look at that fight, he got knocked out 4 seconds left in the 5th round. The rest of that fight, he dominated every fucking second. I'm sure if I look at the scorecards, there's probably 2 10-8 rounds in there, at least. It was pure domination. Rozenstruik landed 1 punch at the end of the fight, knocked him out. So if you take that out, I mean, it's still brain damage, I get it. But as far as performance goes, you change that to a win because he dominated Rozenstruik. All right, hear me out here. That would have been 5 wins in a row. Pavlovich, Oleinik, Rozenstruik, Walt Harris, Augusto Sakai. And then he fought Volkov, and Volkov beat his ass. But Volkov is a top guy in the division. There's no shame in getting your ass kicked by Volkov. Volkov kicks a lot of people's asses. Volkov beat Walt Harris. He beat Greg Hardy. He beat Verdum. He beat Stefan Struve. He beat all these guys too. That one surprised me, especially because Overeem, I think part of it is that Overeem, because he was such a big name when they first signed him, and then his first fight in the UFC, he beat Brock Lesnar. So that was a big fight, and he kind of had a big contract back then, so the contract remained big. But I think that's probably what it is. But I kind of feel bad for Overeem, even though he took steroids and whatnot. And I like to talk shit about guys that take steroids. I would have liked to see him win. For some reason, I like him. I don't know what it is. I like Alistair Overeem, and I feel bad for him. But as far as the fights that happened this weekend, I mean, oh no, that was. So Cyril Gane fought Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Pretty boring fight. And I listened to Ariel Helwani's show today. He made a good point. Like, why is it on the guy that is winning the fight to make it exciting? Like, everybody was blaming Gane. Like, oh, Gane's boring, this and that. But if what he's doing is working, it should be on the guy losing to switch it up and, you know what I'm saying? And do something. Because Rosenstrike didn't change his strategy through 25 minutes, and he lost every second of every round. So yeah, I think that is. I think the blame is not foregone. I mean, it takes two to tango, but at the end of the day, I don't know what you want the guy to do, because he's winning a fight. If he tries to make it more exciting, he gets caught and he gets knocked out. With the pay structure in this sport, he loses half of his money. He doesn't get his win bonus. So I wasn't all that upset at Gane. I mean, at the end of the day, these are heavyweights and these guys hit hard, like Curtis Blades said. And as much as I don't know, when Curtis Blades says it though, it pisses me off. I don't know why. He just annoys me. But it's a hard sport, and you got to do what you can to survive and make as much money as you can and last as long as you can in the sport, because it's a tough fucking sport. But I'd like to see Ciryl Gane face Volkov next. Now, I didn't fucking realize how big Gane was when they stood next to each other at the beginning of the fight. I was like, holy shit, he is a lot bigger than Rosenstrike. At least visually, I think on the scale, I think Rosenstrike weighed in 10 pounds heavier than him, which was surprising. But yeah, so that's really all I got to talk about. The Pedro Munoz fight and the Pedro Munoz and Jimmy Rivera fight was excellent. I love that bantamweight division. It's so stacked. So I really can't say what's going to happen to either of those guys next, but I'm sure Pedro Munoz. I want to move on to the pay-per-view, but I'm sure he's a top ranked guy, so he'll get another top ranked guy next. Now let's move to the pay-per-view this weekend. Whoa, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 15 fights scheduled this weekend. Finally, they are assuming that the fights are going to fall through. But man, this is going to be a long night. Just based on what I'm looking here, I imagine the early prelims, considering there's 6 fights on the early prelims, they're probably going to start at like 5:30. The prelim card is going to start at 8, and then the pay-per-view starts at 10, and there's 3 title fights. So I'm going to skip to Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. I was big up on Casey Kenny a few months ago. And then he said some fucking dumbass bullshit on stupid-ass Sean O'Malley's podcast about Megan Anderson, who is also fighting on this card. I'm sure I've talked about it at some point, but I was big on Casey Kenny, wanting him to win. Not that I dislike Cruz. I love Cruz, but Casey Kenny can go fuck himself. So let's go Dominic Cruz. For the first time in like 9 years is in a non-main card, which is interesting. So let's get to the main card. Thiago Santos is fighting Alexander Rakic. So Alexander Rakic just, in his last fight, beat Anthony Smith pretty decisively. And Thiago Santos just got his ass whooped by Glover Teixeira. So can Rakic ride that high from that Anthony Smith fight? And can Thiago Santos finally come back from his knee surgery? Because I think that played a big part of it in the fight. Not that Glover Teixeira doesn't deserve credit. He deserves all the credit in the world for what he did to Santos. But coming off the double knee surgery, I think he's going to be back to full strength. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I love the guy. And then we got Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. So Islam Makhachev, as of late, has been getting a lot of praise because of how highly Khabib speaks of him. They're talking how Makhachev is like Khabib, but with better striking. And I don't see that at all. He's good, for sure, but I mean, the guys that he's beating are on no type of level of the guys that Khabib were beating. And I mean, Khabib was finishing guys, and in his last 6 fights, Makhachev has one KO and one submission, and everybody else he's taken a decision. All guys that I've never heard of. I've heard of Nick Lentz, but other than that, I don't know any of these guys. So I don't think he's bad. I think he's going to beat Drew Dober, but I think we got to settle down on the Khabib comparisons just a bit. And then look, the 3 title fights. Maybe I'm crazy and maybe I'm the only one that thinks this, but I think all 3 title fights are going to be pretty one-sided. I think Aljamain is going to run through Petr Yan. I think Amanda Nunes is going to run through Megan Anderson, and I think Israel Adesanya is going to run through Jan Blachowicz. So, Petr Yan, he is 15-1, and I hate to say it, but he has not impressed me. If I'm being honest. So he beat his best win up until the title fight was Jimmy Rivera. That was a good win, for sure. I'll give him that. But then he fought Uriah. He beat John Dodson. I don't remember that fight at all. Decision, and then a decision against Jimmy Rivera, and then he fought Uriah Faber. Now, at the time that he fought Uriah Faber was like 40 years old and had retired for a little bit. Wasn't all that impressed. And then he fought Jose Aldo, and this could just be me hating on him, and I don't dislike him. I just don't think he's looked all that impressive. He's good. He hasn't done anything that has blown me away. So he fought Jose Aldo. I don't remember what the scorecards were. I don't remember what I scored them, but I remember I had Jose Aldo winning the fight. And then he got tired, and Petr Yan survived the onslaught and then took advantage. Maybe that was his game plan, maybe it wasn't, but it worked. Got a late TKO, and Jose Aldo took way more damage than he needed to in that fight. But he hasn't looked all that impressive, I don't think. And I think Aljo can take him down, submit him, strike with him. He can do whatever the fuck he wants to him. I really honestly think that. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that fight. I think Aljo runs through him. I think Amanda Nunes, the number 2 in the GOAT conversation. Yes, I said it. George St. Pierre is the greatest of all time, but Amanda Nunes is number 2, and she is inching closer to number 1. Especially now that she has a kid, and she's like, oh, I finally, got my... Because she was starting to, fall out of love with fighting. Because she's like, this is kind of boring. I'm just beating the shit out of everybody. I'm not even having close fights. I'm not even getting challenged. But Megan Anderson's good. She's a legit 145er. She's a big girl. She's long. I don't think she has anything to offer Amanda that she hasn't seen. And then as far as Izzy and Jan go, Izzy is definitely skinnier than Jan. He said he's probably going to weigh in 193, 195, something like that. But if you look at Costa weighed in at 185 when they fought, and then he bulked back up to 220. Jan said that he bulks back up to about 218, 220. So Israel is fighting a guy of similar size as Costa, similar power to Costa, but he seems slower. So I don't see how the fight with Jan is going to go much different than Izzy's fight went with Costa. Jan definitely hits hard. Obviously, if he catches him, he could put him to sleep. That Polish power, legendary shit. But that's the case in any of these fights. If he catches them, yeah, they're professional fighters with 4-ounce gloves. You could say that about any fight ever in any division ever. If he catches them, yeah, no shit. It's a big if though. You can't knock something out if you can't hit it clean. So that's my thought on that. So I got something else here that I want to talk about. And this kind of shit really bothers me when people post stuff like this. So I saw somebody post one of those, it wasn't even a meme. One of those, it was meant to be inspirational. Did they delete it? Oh, yeah. So the picture was a picture of Elon Musk, And it says you have enough time. There is 168 hours per week. If you work 40, you do 7 hours at the gym, you sleep 56 hours, that leaves you 65 hours left. Stop wasting your time, start doing it. And then it says, damn, a whole 65 hours, that's if you're sleeping 8 hours a day. If you sleep less, you got more time. I know it's meant to be inspirational, but who are you to tell people what to do with their time? Like, some people need to waste, if you even call it a waste, their time to be able to survive. Some people need that downtime so that their mental health can, recharge. Like, they need that time in front of the TV to disconnect and kind of focus on something that is disconnected from this shitty world that surrounds them. Some people have kids. Some people are single moms where they have kids. They have to do the laundry. They have to cook the food. Not everybody has enough time. And most people work more than 40 hours. It's just let people live their lives. I understand the point of these types of posts that are like, it's supposed to be inspirational because it's Elon Musk, but I mean, most of the times when people post shit like that, the people that read it, it just makes them feel like shit. Because most people in the world are trying really fucking hard to succeed. Obviously, there's a lot of lazy people, but for the most part, people are trying really fucking hard to succeed in their jobs and their relationships and life in general. And sometimes you can try really fucking hard and still fail, regardless of how much time you put into shit. And when you fail enough, it's demoralizing. So, yeah, maybe I do have enough time, but failing sucks. And that's all I've done for most of my life is fail. I'm still out here trying. I'm still out here hustling. I'm still making my podcast. I'm doing it. I'm editing these videos together. I'm recording I do a lot. I work more than 40 hours a week. I definitely don't sleep 56, but I mean, I probably am editing shit 20 hours a week. I'm recording podcasts 2 hours a week. Yeah, I don't have enough time. Yeah, so take that. I'm trying my best, as are most people. Use your time however the fuck you want. Fuck Paul Miller. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.